Tarunya from BCom Honors for prayer song.
Shri Maheshwari Vaisali Nagareshwari Parameshwari Kamitargamuvichi Provam Kanyaka Parameshwari Devadevi Maheshwari Jagadeshwari Vaneshwari Parameshwari Balachandagiri Vaishalam Shayasopivardhini Kanyaka Parameshwari Sri Maheshwari Vasavi Nagareshwari Parameshwari Kamitargamuvichi Provam Kanyaka Parameshwari Kanyaka Parameshwari Kanyaka Parameshwari.
To make our resource person feel included with us with a bond, he must be welcome. Now I call upon Ms. Vandhana from BCom Honors to deliver welcome address.
Life should be greater rather than being a song. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. A graceful and warm afternoon to one and all present here. I, on behalf of IQAC and IIC of SKBC and Department of Commerce Honors, take immense pleasure in welcoming you all for this webinar on product and innovation. I heartily welcome our resource person for the day, J. Govindarajan sir, Director, HR and Finance, Glow Life Care Equipments Private Limited. Welcome, sir. I also extend my warm welcome to our Honorable Correspondent, Sir Tugilan Ramesh, Principal Dr. T. Mohinasri ma'am, and Vice Principal Dr. P.V. Vanita ma'am, and Dr. M.B. Abinaya ma'am, and other faculty. Lord, but not least, I would like to welcome all the students for this event. Once again, welcome you all.
Thank you, Ms. Vandhana. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Roshni Mandal from BCom Honors to introduce our resource person to us.
Thank you, Koshika. It's my pleasure to introduce our resource person, Mr. J. Govindaraj sir, for the webinar on product and innovation. Mr. J. Govindaraj sir is a CA rank holder who belongs to 1989 batch of the ICAI, and he has been an entrepreneur ever since. He and his partner, Mr. Rajesh Rangarajan sir, ran an investment advisory services firm called Plutus Investments. The Zara Technology Limited, which made its public appearance in March 2021, gave 8 times return to its investors. Govindaraj sir personally runs one of the invested company, namely Glow Life Care Equipments Private Limited, a social enterprise, and has done more than 20,000 installations pan-India in sanitary napkin vending machines and sanitary napkin incinerators, which you will find in the campus of schools, colleges, IT companies, and manufacturing companies. Govindaraj sir is an avid tennis player and a keen sports enthusiast. His interests include reading, travel, and fitness. It's an honor to have such a renowned person to address in our midst. Over to Koshika.
Thank you, Roshni, for enlightening us on our resource person. I would kindly request our resource person, Mr. J. Govindaraj sir, to take over the session. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. First of all, I apologize for the delay. I was on the road, so I had to get back after a meeting, and it took a little while. So I apologize for that. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm not able to say dignitaries on the dais, but I guess all the college important authorities are present there. So a good morning to all of you, and once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address students here. I am always eager to meet young people because it's not a question of gyan, trying to give some gyan and all that. But what I want to emphasize here is that we have crossed some path here and we have gained some experience, which we would like to share with others. Also, I come from a history of teachers. So meeting young people and interacting with them gives me great pleasure. I think it's something to do with my genetic makeup. Okay, without much ado, let me start off with the session. I'll try to make as informal as possible. Please feel free to interrupt me if you've not understood anything, and I'll be happy to explain it further. Since we are not meeting one-on-one, I would request one of you to ask questions, even if I'm trying to interact with a group of students, I always ensure that I address one or two of them and I say, do you understand what this is? Or if I show something, I try to explain it to one of them to see how much of it they've understood. So since the online presentation does not give me that opportunity, I would request one of you to interrupt me if you need any clarification. Thank you. Okay, let me go ahead with something which is which all of you know. Okay, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to turn the camera to the other side. See, okay, or else I'll show you a piece of paper. Okay, this is just a piece of paper. Okay, nothing special. It's just a invoice. Okay, now if I give it to somebody and ask somebody to make a copy of it, what kind of a shop will somebody go to? Can any of you answer? What shop will anybody go to make a copy of this? What is it called?
Xerox, sir.
Exactly. Beautiful. Somebody answered that. It's a Xerox shop. Okay. How many of you know it is not Xerox, but what the right word for in English is photocopying? I hope you're aware. Right? Am I right? Photocopying.
Yes,
Yeah. It's called photocopying. That is the right word. Xerox is the name of the company which made the first copiers. Okay. So that's why everybody is now using the word Xerox there. Okay. Okay. Let me come back to this a little later. Okay. I'll tell you why I emphasized on this particular word, Xerox. Okay. Now, suppose there is a company like ours. Okay. Or any other company. There are only two things which a company tries to sell. Can somebody tell me what it is? Basically, only two things the company sells. Okay, I'll help you here. It's either goods or services. Correct? These are the two broad classifications. Any company will try to sell. Either they have something, goods or something to sell, or it is a service like an accounting service or a taxation service or some other services like even what do you call any service of any kind, not just connected to commerce. It can be any services. For example, even a typewriting shop which makes which draws a letter for you is a service of some kind. So the companies are broadly defined by either they sell something which is tangible, which you can hold on hand or you can touch and feel it, or a service which you can experience it. So these are the two broad categories in which things fall into. That's why we have something called the goods and services tax based on what you sell. Either it's a good or a service. Now, can somebody tell me what can be common to both of them? Or okay, I here also I'll help you because you may not be familiar. There is something which can be defined which is common to both of them. Okay, which is part of our topic for discussion here. It's called a product. Can somebody tell me what is a product? How is it different from a goods or a service? Hello? Anybody? Everybody, product is used generally saying this is a product or that is a product. But in real terms, something is defined as a product. Can anybody enlighten the rest of us? Or should I go ahead? Hello? Am I audible? Hello?
The product is the output which a company sells, like which the company is based on.
Something which defines the company. That's a good kind of an explanation, but a little more. Okay, I'll come back to the first thing which I asked you. You said Xerox, correct? And not photocopying, correct? So the reason is that there is something which the company makes which is different from the rest of the other companies which make similar products. How many of you have heard of something called Intel Inside? Have you heard of it? Intel is a processor company which makes the microprocessor in which your computer runs. Many of you would have heard of it, right? Intel Inside. Heard of it?
Yes.
Good. So there are so many microprocessor companies like AMD, this one, Intel, and a few others. But Intel wanted to differentiate it from the rest of them. They claimed that they were always ahead of the race, saying they were producing faster processors. And they want the customer to know that when you're buying a computer, you're not just buying a computer, you're buying a computer with the fastest processor inside. So they started branding. What you see in before the 90s, we used to just buy a computer with a processor, with the speed of the processor alone known to us. We did not know what is the name of the processor until Intel came and said, no, you're not only buying a processor with the certain speed, but it's the top speed in that category, and it is made by us. So a simple thing, it is not a simple thing, but a processor is a complicated thing, but still they wanted to communicate to the customer that they were buying something which is cutting edge technology, which is ahead of others. So they started marketing computers. So Intel started advertising separately. Suppose you buy a cycle. I'll tell you the difference. Suppose you buy a cycle today. Nobody knows what brand of nuts or bolts goes into it or what wheel goes into it, because the company making the nuts, bolts, or wheels for the cycle is not advertising separately, and it is not making any significant difference to the cycle until Intel came along and said, no, it makes a difference to the buyer that they are buying a very fast processor and a reliable processor, and because of which this computer will sell better. So companies which were using Intel processor also started saying Intel Inside. So both Intel and the companies which are manufacturing computers using Intel processor started advertising, saying this is a very fast processor. Now, what happened in the process is, normally a processor, like what do we call these nuts and bolts companies? Anybody can answer that question? What are these nuts and bolts which goes into the wheel? What are they called?
Goods and services, sir.
Hello. Can one of you answer what is a nut and bolt? What category of product they fall into?
Goods and services.
No, it is a goods, but it comes under something called commodity. Okay, what is a commodity? A commodity is something which is produced in mass, and people don't care too much about what nut or bolt you're buying. Suppose you go to a hardware show. You go to a hardware store. Do you call for a particular nut, or do you call for a company and call for that particular nut? You just pick up any nuts, or you call for a particular company? How many of you knew there is a company called GKW which produces nuts and bolts? Okay, That is one of the famous companies in nuts and bolts. But still, you will go to a hardware store. If you want to buy a nut or bolt, you will not ask for a brand. So it falls into a category called commodity. All these small things, or even large things. For example, suppose you're buying paper, for example. How many of you know of J.K. Bond, or how many of you have known of Ballarpur Industries? You just go and buy a A4 size paper, right? You will not ask for a brand. So the product, or rather the goods that the company is selling, is become a commodity. A commodity is a goods where there is very little differentiation between one and another. Now, the next question is, why does a company want to convert from a commodity to a product? The answer is very simple. If you do not differentiate, you will be fighting based on prices. A4 size paper, when you buy, you will say, suppose something, let us say, JK paper is 100 rupees for 100 rupees for a 500 sheet, and something is at 90 rupees. Let us say Seshashai paper is selling at 90 rupees. Will you go for the 90 rupees or 100 rupees? Obviously, it's not making too much difference. After all, it's an A4 size paper. All you need to do is make some copies out of it. You will go for a 90 rupee paper. So, because the product is something called commoditized, there is very little difference between one paper and the other, and there is no innovation. Okay. Very beautifully, we have also included that particular word in our today's topic, innovation. So innovation makes the difference from converting the commodity to a product. So when we say product, generally we think of all products. It is not so. Anything which is innovative and which gives higher revenue, that becomes a product. The next question is, how will something, okay, I can understand goods. Today, somebody talks about product for services also. This has happened recently. Okay. Okay, let me give you an example. Have you heard of any of you heard of a product called FlexCube, which is a banking software? Many of you may not have heard. Anyway, FlexCube is one of the famous banking software. Infosys has got its own banking software. All these software were developed for a particular bank. Infosys developed it for Canara Bank, FlexCube for Citibank. I mean, a company which developed FlexCube was for Citibank. All these companies sent software engineers to the banking to the banks, and they sat with the bank officials, understood how banking operations happen, and they wrote software codes for this. And then they deployed it for that particular bank. Then they realized that they can sell the same software with minor changes here and there, depending upon other banks' process may be slightly different. They can change it here and there and sell it to the other banks too. So from a service, which is writing software codes, they converted that to a product. Today it's called FlexiCube and other things. Each company has its own. Each company selling banking software have their own name given to it. Okay. There's another company which sells its product as Banksys, FlexCube, and so on. So what has happened is a service has been converted into a product because they have managed to make the change. Innovation. I talked about innovation. Innovation is they were able to do whatever they were doing manually through a system today. Okay. They converted that manual application to a computerized operation, and they packaged it and sold it to other banks. So a service has been converted into a product. So today, products are there, both is a common term used for both goods and services. Now, let me take you off this a little bit. Okay. What I told you, one, there is an advantage of, there is, I said commodities, there are very little difference between one and the other. So that is why there is little difference between the two. Therefore, both of them will be fighting to bring down the prices and sell more. As a result, the profitability will be low for both the companies because they are fighting in the commodity space. Okay. Suppose, okay, I am a chartered accountant. I know in the chartered accountant space also, suppose if somebody is offering to file my tax return. Okay. Obviously, somebody will not file, will ask for 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. There are people filing at 500 rupees. Okay. Or even 1,000 rupees, and so on. So that is the commodity because there are chartered accountants fighting among each other, trying to lower the prices and file it as low as possible. So I will go to the person who charges me a very low fee. That is an example of a service being commoditized. But suppose I have a tax problem. Okay, I have a tax problem and I need a legal expert among the chartered accountants to go and meet the income tax authorities and then fight my case and win it. I will go around finding out who is the best income chartered accountant practitioner who has the experience and legal expertise of understanding my problem and going representing my case with the IT authorities and winning it. There, the services become a product because there are very few people who have that innovation and who have the expertise to take up my case. So, both in products and services, innovation makes the difference of converting that into a product. Now, the next question, obviously, is what is the advantage? I already told you the disadvantage of being a commodity or a service which is similar to a commodity. You are fighting in a space where all of us are fighting against each other through price war. Whoever is the lowest price will win. Whereas innovation will take it to a higher price. In our own company, we try to do it by offering innovation and also service, which is different from rest of the people in the market. So we are converting our product, our goods into a product by providing this kind of additional support. So coming back to this question of when you convert it to a product, you're not fighting on price anymore. You are fighting against something called perception. Perception is what is the feeling that a person gets when consuming your product. You should feel the difference between a commodity and a product. Okay. I do not know how many of you have ridden a Mercedes, or I'm sure many of you would have ridden, driven or gone on a car, say a Hyundai. A few of you would have gone on a Mercedes. Obviously, the experience of going into a Mercedes is different. That is what is called as perception. The feeling and the enjoyment that one gets on consuming a superior product or service is what one gets. The perception that he feels that when consuming a superior quality of product or service. Obviously, the next question is, yes, the person who feels the innovation and the quality of the service or product which he is consuming is superior to the commoditized product or service is willing to pay more. So there, the company which makes the has done the innovation gets to reap the reward of higher prices. As a result, it is able to reap higher profits because of this innovation. Okay, I'll pause here. I can take questions here if you need, and I'll just halt and take a little bit of sip of water and come back to you. Any questions, please? இல்ல தமிழ்ல சொல்லணுமா? Any questions, please? அவ்வளவு கிளியரா இருந்ததா? இல்ல தமிழ்ல எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுமான்னு சொல்லுங்க. இன்னொரு வாட்டி எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்றேன். வேண்டாம்.
Girls, if you have any question, you can raise your questions, ma.
இல்ல தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா இன்னும் பெட்டரா நான் சொல்றேன். ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. இன்னொரு வாட்டி எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணணும்னா சின்னதா எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்றேன். வேண்டாம். யாருக்காவது தமிழ்ல சொல்லணுமா? English is okay?
Sir, it seems there is no question. You can continue with the session, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. I'll just show you a small, I'm just trying to change the, yeah, I got it. Okay. Do you see my computer?
Yes, sir.
Do you read the words there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All of you read it? Okay. It's a very interesting forward which I got, which I thought I'd share with you. In India, it is Fevicol, not glue. It's Maggi, not noodles. It's All Out, not mosquito repeller. It's Colgate, not toothpaste. It shows that how much effort these companies have taken to convert a commodity to a brand. I don't know how many of you have seen the early Fevicol ads. Okay, they have combined what you call humor in their ads. Some of the earlier ads would say that if a person leaves a teacup on something which has Fevicol in it, you will not be able to lift it after some time. That is the kind of message that they, in fact, one of the most humorous ads that I saw was that a truck going around with some 100 people on top of on all sides. Okay. And all of them trying to hang around on the truck. And the end of the ad, it is not believable, but still it was humorous, saying it's because of Fevicol that people are able to hang on to that truck. That company, Fevicol, has managed to convert a glue, which is a commodity. When we were growing up, we would just go to the market and buy any glue. Today, we ask for a Fevicol stick. Similar with Maggi. All Out, you would have all known, but of course, now there are multiple brands. Colgate was the only toothpaste which was available when we were growing up. So these are all examples of companies which have managed to bring that innovation component. It's sometimes called the X factor, to convert a product, a commodity into a product. So with that, if you see, if you go and see the share price of these companies, Fevicol and Colgate, and especially Colgate and all, has got more than 60% of the market share of toothpaste, even today in India. At one point of time, it was 80%. Okay, so these companies have steadily reaped the reward of higher prices, because of which the company's share price is always going on top. Now, let me go into another small theory. Okay, I don't know whether you've heard of this 4-box approach. Just give me a second. Okay. The 4-box, or it is called the 4-box, or you can also call the 4 stages of evolution of a company. Now, all companies go through this 4 stages, which is birth, and then the period of struggle. The second is the growth stage, when the product gains traction or what we call acceptance in the market. Third is the maturity stage, when the company is now going to face competition from other people who have also found that this market is now has only 1 or 2 players. Let me also enter it and try to, because the market is expanding, let me also corner a share of the market. So that's the growth called the maturity stage, when competitors start coming in. And the fourth is the death stage, when companies do not innovate or not able to add products, other products, they go through something called the death stage. Okay, I'll give you examples of in all the 4 categories. Okay, the first is the birth or the growing, the what is called the innovative stage. The company has innovated and has started selling its product. You would have all heard of a company called Tesla, right? Tesla is one of the first companies which entered electric vehicle market with their product somewhere in 2010. 11 years ago, they entered. Elon Musk is a very reputed entrepreneur. He said there are hundreds of companies manufacturing automobiles, Toyota, Suzuki, Skoda, Audi, and so on. But this guy said, no, these guys are all doing only internal combustion engines, which are burning either petrol or diesel. Let me innovate. I will be a technology company. I am not going to be a automobile company. I am a technology company. I am going to innovate on batteries, and I am going to produce a world-class electric vehicle which will travel a certain distance, 300 miles, he said, on a single charge, and I will innovate on this product. So when he started in 2010 around, there was a lot of struggle. Okay, people did not accept. They were always scared of the vehicles standing in the middle of the road after running out of electricity. Unlike a gas station, you cannot plug. Those days, you cannot just plug a Tesla anywhere and recharge it. You need a particular kind of even today, you need a particular kind of plug to recharge the vehicle. So, but Tesla went ahead and innovated and started selling. So around 2010, this is that's when they were early as companies which were harping on innovation. In 2010, by about 2018, they had reached something called the growth stage, where the product gained acceptance and started selling fast. Okay, they became the company which not only gained acceptance in the market, but they were also the only EV company which was selling 10 times what other companies were selling in the electric vehicle market. So being innovators, being struggling entrepreneurs, they became what you call as industry leaders in that particular category, the growth stage. That's when you start maximizing your profit, because when you are struggling, you are only spending more money on marketing and other activities, and you will not be earning much. But once you reach the growth stage, you will earn 2 times or 3 times, thrice the time normal profit of a normal company, because your products are unique. The market has accepted your product and is willing to pay a higher price for that product. Normally, most companies make about 6-7% of profit. Product companies with the innovative technology gain about 15 to 20% of net profit of their sales. So that is the kind of difference. 2 to 3 times of the normal profit is what they achieve. That is why they are in the stock market. They are sought after, because growth seems to have occurred. next year will be twice or thrice of this year's profit. So they are willing to pay a premium on the premium price for that share. That is why those shares are hotly traded and their price is much more than or rapidly growing more than the other companies. So these companies which have reached the growth stage will find not only the products are selling, but their share price is also selling very highly and traded more often in the stock exchange. So all companies would like to have products which are in the growth stage. But what happens in the growth stage is that automatically others jump into the bandwagon, we call it. That is, once you find that one company is making huge profit on a particular product, other companies jump in. That is why today you find Mercedes has jumped in, Audi has jumped in. Every company in the internal, which was selling only petrol and diesel vehicles, today have jumped into the electric vehicle market and have started. They had started long back. Of course, when they saw Tesla jumping in, a few years later, maybe about 5-6 years later, they jumped in. But Tesla had also, before 2010 itself, they had started working. 5-6 years earlier itself, they have started working on this. What you saw in around 2010 is only after a few years of innovation. So by about 2014 to 15, a lot of companies started jumping into the EV market. That is why Tata today is able to release electric vehicles. Mercedes is promised a vehicle which requires what you call recharge after 1,000 miles, 3 times of what Tesla is offering. They have promised. They have of course put solar panels on the roof and everything, but still they have promised 3 times mileage, that is recharge mileage, than a Tesla. So all the other companies have started jumping into the electric vehicle market today. So now we have reached, the electric vehicle market has reached something called the mature stage. Okay, I would not say mature, but I would say early mature, where it is going to, the real mature stage is not only when a lot of companies have jumped in, but also when the market share of electric vehicle reaches about 30-40%. Today, they are still at 5%, 7% of the market share. So once they reach about 30% of the petrol vehicle, diesel vehicles decline, the sale of them decline and electric vehicles picks up, that's when the real mature market comes. But we have already seen signs of that. The first sign that a lot of competition is coming in is the first sign. Then a lot of sales will be the next sign that the market is maturing. Then the final stage is the death stage. But we will not reach that stage for electric vehicles, I hope, because what will happen is more products in the electrical vehicle category will come. We are not going to see death so easily in that particular category, but I'll give you another example for that. You would have all heard of film. Okay, I'm film in the sense, what was the earlier cameras is, you had a roll of film, you would take pictures using films. The company called Konica, there's a company called this one, there are two, Eastman Color is another company, there's a company called, there's German company, I forget the name. There are 3-4 companies which were ruling the market in films. They were producing films not only for you to shoot still films, but also for movies and so on. Everything was shot on a film. These companies failed to see the transition from films to digital medium. Suddenly, all you needed was a SD card to store what you shoot. And not only you are storing what you shoot, you are also creating huge number of pictures. I don't know whether you know, there was a certain number of, there was only about 35 or 40 films, 40 pictures that you can shoot with a film roll. Suddenly with an SD card, you could shoot hundreds. Not only that, you can transfer that SD card to your computer and again clean the SD card and reshoot or right on top of over the SD card and again take fresh photos. This is the innovation which the old companies like Konica, did not see. As a result, in fact, there were companies which are in the what do you call camera market. They also did not see this coming. Suddenly, the companies which are in the camera market, suddenly when it went digital, they did not wake up immediately. They eventually caught up with these companies which went into the what do we call the SLR cameras today. Those cameras today are totally different from what was available earlier. These companies are new companies. The older companies did not see the change. There's a company called Yashica. I don't know whether you've heard of it. Many of you would not have heard of that also. Yashica. These are companies which made cameras for films. They eventually had to, I wouldn't say die, but they had to finally embrace the digital technology. But by then the digital companies went ahead with their sales and caught the market. Okay, so these Yashica became a laggard, lagging behind these new companies. So why I'm saying this is, if you do not innovate, you eventually will die. Okay, these are lessons which we learn. Okay, now coming to how companies operate. Do the companies really die? Another example, which death is a company, not death but near death, is a company called Nokia. Nokia was the leader in mobile phones before Apple happened. Apple came with the digital touch technology without the keypad. These guys were caught napping. They did not innovate. They thought that who will go for such high-priced phones, and they slept on it. Eventually, the market moved away from a touchpad to a digital a digital keypad, which appears in your phone, and the market accepted that and moved on to a bigger screen, and eventually Nokia virtually were not at one point of time able to sell any phones. Another company with a similar kind of a keypad is a company called BlackBerry. Not Blueberry. BlackBerry. Similar touchpad innovation, but lost out to Apple. These are all examples of how companies which do not innovate will finally have to either become very small or embrace new technology, but still they would have lost the race with companies which innovated. Okay. Now, let me give you some examples of how companies survive this. The typical company survives this by constantly innovating. They will come up with products which they will launch in the product. Even there will be few products which typically companies will have few products which are in the launch stage, few products in the growth stage, few products in the maturity stage, and few products in the death stage. Okay. Now, when they are launching the product, it is with innovation. They are launching a product, not a commodity. Understand that. Now that product, when it gains acceptance, it becomes a hit. That is the growth stage. Slowly, the product which becomes a hit faces competition. Once it faces competition, and if this company which launched the product and took it to the growth stage, if they are not able to innovate, it becomes a commodity. And once it becomes a commodity, it will not be able to survive competition for long. The companies will gain profitability. Once the companies realize that they are not able to gain much of profitability, they will kill the product themselves. They will introduce new products and take it to the growth stage and kill products which become a commodity because it does not give them too much of profits. So this is how companies survive, by constantly innovating, introducing products. They will take it to growth stage by marketing efforts and innovation, and then only when the competition sets in and they find that the product is not giving them the desired results, they will sell. They will kill the product. In the process, this is a constant process which goes on. This is how companies survive. If they do not do this, which is introducing products, new products, their existing products will become commodity. This is inevitable. I'll give you another example. All of you would have heard of the company called Philips. Philips has been an innovator, constant innovator in the market. If you see any product, if you see your televisions or any of the products, any consumer products, they will be innovators. Okay. In the FMCG category, we have a company called Hindustan Lever. They are innovators. They will launch new categories of products. Okay. They'll create categories, product categories. So Philips constantly innovates. But what happens is after a few years, Philips products becomes competition sets in, and they will get out. You would have all when we grew up, we fancied a particular brand called Sony. Sony used to constantly innovate and bring in panels which are superior in experience from others. They were product innovators. That is why a Sony television during our days was at least 20-30% had a premium over other products. If you see the first flat screen, it will be Sony. It will be, if you see the whatever the pixel, higher amount of pixel, it will be Sony. But they also eventually lost out because beyond a certain stage, they were not able to innovate on it. There are other companies which are innovated like Samsung and LG and all that, and they caught up with it. And today, Sony is not, Sony products do not have that kind of premium which earlier they used to command. 10 years ago, they used to command a premium on their products because of innovation. Today, they are not able to. But this is a war. Remember, business is a war without weapons. That's all. So it will be a war, and there will be death, and there will be wounds. So companies have to constantly innovate to stay in the race. This is inevitable. So when I said commodity, product, innovation, all this has an interlink. Only then you will understand how you can sell better. So as I said, finally, that a product, a commodity, any innovation will lead to a superior product. Or sometimes a commodity will suddenly become a product because of innovation. Okay, we did the same for some of our products. Okay, we converted that into a product and we managed to sell better than the others. So that is the reason why we are in the market. Now, similarly, there would be Tesla itself is a good example. The world car market had become a commodity. Everybody was selling only the slightly different products. Tesla came in, changed the rules of the game, converted it into an electric vehicle. They made a commodity as a product. That is why their share price is very high. And today, Mr. Musk is the richest man on earth. So that concludes my speech on product, innovation, and commodity. I introduced what is commodity also along the way. I hope you understood it. Now, I'll also link it up slightly with entrepreneurship. Okay. You all heard of what do you call when you start a business, somebody starts a business or a service. Everybody starts with something safe. In a chartered accountant's parlance, my peers, people who passed with me, started with taxation, audit, or what you call taxation, audit, and one more, consulting. Okay, but very few went into consulting. Taxation, audit was the most favored destination for chartered accountants. They called themselves entrepreneurs because they took up an office. They were individuals. They either were loan people or they took up partners and they set up a small firm and they called themselves entrepreneurs. But what they offered were just commodity services. They offered taxation, they offered audit, which is similar to endless amount of chartered accountants, whatever services chartered accountants offer. There was nothing that differentiated, or very little that differentiated one chartered accountant from another when you're filing tax returns or doing an audit. There's very little. Some of the smart ones went into consulting. Said, okay, I can analyze balance sheet better. I can help companies progress by giving them analysis of their numbers and their balance sheets and profitability. I have a better insight into their business, and they offered consulting services. So they moved up these valuation ladder. It is called the valuation ladder. The valuation ladder is nothing but when you convert a product or a service into, when you convert a commodity or a service into a product, you move up something called the valuation ladder. And then you become at the top. There are very few people who innovate and take it to that level, and that's where you get higher returns. So entrepreneurship is also about not doing what everybody does, but doing something which is different. There are only certain amount of ways which you can do something. But when you do something which is excellent or different from others, you move up the value chain and you get a better return. So entrepreneurship is also about learning how to do things differently, but of course, something which is desired by the market. When Apple went ahead and made the iPhone, Jobs did not bother about what the market. He did not do one single survey. He just said, everybody wants him. Do you know what the market wants? Okay. He had one beautiful answer. He said, the market does not know what it wants. I will tell the market what it wants. So he went ahead and launched the phone. And the phone caught everybody by surprise, and Apple became the most desired product. I still remember the first Apple product which a friend of me gave it to me. It had to be charged every 3 hours. But still, I did not mind that pain because the feel of an Apple phone was different, very different from a Nokia phone when I got it. The customer experience was totally different. I was able to navigate smoothly and find what I want on the phone without much of a difficulty. After which I did not go back to the the keypad phone which I had earlier. So Apple made that difference. These are all examples of how you can convert an ordinary service or a commodity to a product. I hope this is useful. We'll be happy to take more questions, if any.
First, if there is any questions, please be free to clarify.
Hello.
Girls, if you have any question, you can ask. So it looks like there is no question. You can continue. Sir.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity. If there's any in-person, any other topic you want me to address, I'll be happy to address.
Thank you so much, sir. I should say the session is really very useful. You have been saying what are the difference between commodity, product, and innovation, everything. Surely, I think students have gained some knowledge from this session. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Ashwini for vote of thanks. Vote of thanks.
A graceful and warm applause
to our resource person, our worthy teachers, management committee, and most beloved students gathered over here. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion on behalf of IQAC and IIC of SKPC and Department of Commerce Honors. I express my gratitude to our resource person, J. Govindraj Sir, Director, HR and Finance, No Life Care Equipments Private Limited, who spent his valuable time in spite of his busy schedule to grace this occasion. Thank you, sir. I thank our honorable correspondent and principal ma'am and vice principal ma'am for their extended support for this event. My heartfelt thanks to the Department of Commerce Honors for conducting this informative webinar for the students. Last but not least, I thank all the students for your cooperation in making this event a resounding success. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Ashwini. Participants, please turn up your videos for your picture section.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
I'll leave.
Participants, please wait in the meeting. Link will be posted in the chat box feedback link. After filling the feedback link, you can leave the meeting.